Hey, welcome to yourlocalnote.com. My name is Mike Stringer, joined by RJ McKay. It's time again for another weekly featured podcast, and we have Trackjackets into the studio. Let me remind you real quick, though, to get our free iPhone and Android app so you can stream YLN radio 24/7. We're playing music only from the Philadelphia area, right from your phone. Also, check out the concert calendar for shows this week and coming up this weekend. And if you want, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter to keep up to date with these bands and artists. Just send us an email. Our address is contact@yourlocalnote.com. All right, Trackjackets we have in the studio here. The first song we're going to play is called Hope, and it's off their debut EP, which is called Signal Noise. We have Trackjackets here on yourlocalnote.com. Hope. They are Trackjackets. This is yourlocalnote.com. Gentlemen, welcome into the studio.
Hello. Thank you.
How you doing?
Introduce yourself, your name, and the role you play in the band.
My name's Levi. I play bass.
Adrian. I sing and play guitar.
I'm Sean. I play drums and sing.
I'm Matt. I play guitar.
Okay. How did you guys form the band, and where'd you come up with the name Trackjackets?
Well, we all met through Craigslist.
As people do.
None of us have been murdered yet. Looking at you, Matt.
Just a long game of Clue waiting to happen.
Well, I decided that I've been playing for like about a year, just doing open mics and playing acoustic after taking a few years off from playing music altogether. But decided I just wanted to get together with some people and kind of get more of a group-focused effort. You know, you get tired of being your own editor. So right. I put up an ad on Craigslist for a female singer-songwriter to play with, and I met Matt.
Perfect. Fit the bill right away.
And so I think Matt's first email to me was, well, I'm not female, but I think we could work on your stuff. So, Matt and I got together, played for a little while, and we realized that we needed some other instruments, some other musicians to work with. So I don't know, Matt, if you wanted to add anything to that, or
Matt, what did you see in that Craigslist ad? That
I mean, the main thing was that Adrian posted a link to some of his recordings. So I mean, he was lucky enough to actually have some content on the web and everything. So I got to listen to that, and right away, I think it was the song "Oh." That was kind of from our demo EP before this one that we actually recorded, but it was one of his solo versions of "Oh," and like 3 seconds in, I was like, wow, I could, that was pretty much the best that day on Craigslist that they had to offer. So
time played into it.
Yeah.
The best of the day. Right?
Best of the day.
and actually, the song that Matt's talking about is a song that we play all the time. It's the song at our last show we opened with that song. So it kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But what would you say from there? We worked on trying to find a drummer next.
Yep.
And that's where we met Sean.
Yeah, I was in another band called the Northeast. We're kind of like this alt country band, and they kind of wanted to go one direction, more folksy, more lighter. I kind of wanted to stay where we were because we had a good sound going, building a good name. But as things go, it just kind of fell apart. So I hopped back on Craigslist and found these guys, and we kind of had a mutual interest in the music we were playing, and just kind of it went from there. And then we found Levi over here.
Yes, I also responded to an ad. I just moved here. These are my friends. All right. I had just moved to the city about a couple months earlier. I was looking for a group to play with. I thought the songs were good. The recordings were good. I figured, why not? The guys were cool. Figured I'd go forward with it and just see what happens.
Excellent. You mentioned the last show you played, which was the debut show for your EP. Signal Noise.
Correct.
Which that first song we just played, Hope, is off of that. What can you tell us about that song, Hope?
All right. Well, that song actually, one of my favorite musicians of all time, and my favorite guitarist of all time, and I get flack for this all the time because it's kind of a non-traditional choice, is Ani DeFranco. So I guess it was November of last year. I saw Ani DeFranco play, and the next day I went home and I was like, I need to write a really percussive guitar song. I don't know if anybody's familiar who's listening to this is familiar with Ani DeFranco's style, but it's very percussive, acoustic guitar-based style. And so I sat down and wrote Hope, and it doesn't really sound the way that I originally had written it all out. The chords are the same, the beat is pretty much the same, but the band took it in a completely different direction, which is something that we have been successful at, I think. But yeah, that song is mainly just a project, a challenge to myself to try to write a song in that style.
Right. Now, what other than her, what are some of your other influences that you were bringing to these guys when you first met?
Well, I listened to a lot of singer-songwriters as well. I'm a big fan of Josh Ritter. We were just talking about Elliott Smith earlier. As far as bands go, I like a lot of, especially like 80s and early 90s bands like The Smiths, REM, which is the only song we've successfully covered as a band because we do all original songs. We can never agree on covers because we do come from very different musical backgrounds. And I don't know if you guys wanted to mention some of the things that really maybe play into your style.
Yeah, we were going to go down.
Okay. Oh, sure.
Down the row. No problem.
Way to take over the show.
All right. It's good, though. All right, we'll go with you, Levi. Influences.
I'm actually a big reggae music fan, which a lot of people find interesting just because the band I'm in now doesn't play any reggae at all. But I really like the way the bass and the drums, for that matter, work in reggae songs.
Okay.
And I really try to somehow integrate that into different styles of music without having it sound like Sublime, which is what everyone else seems to try to do.
Okay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah. But really what influences me a lot of reggae. Lately I've listened to a lot of ELO for some reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I can't really put a finger on it, man. I mean, I kind of roll with it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
Okay, cool. Sean?
I mean, I come traditionally from more of like a pop punk emo, sometimes hardcore background. And that's where a lot of my style comes from. But at the same time, I can respect. There's like two drummers in particular that I take a lot of influence from. One is Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews Band, and the other one is LP from Yellow Card. They're both super technical drummers. LP's kind of a hard hitter, but I mean, some of the stuff he does, it's just, dude, how are you moving this fast?
Okay.
You know, so it's kind of one of those things where I try to integrate that kind of style into my playing. So, you know, if Eric kind of has like a bass line or Matt has a guitar part, I try to come up with some drum parts that may reflect that. And you can kind of hear it in Hope, you know, during the rolls in the song, it's kind of matching up with some of Matt's guitar parts as well. So I mean, for me, that's kind of where from my contribution to the band comes from. It's just my music styles. But then, you know, I'm kind of maybe not as wide as these guys, but I kind of have a wide base of music of what I listen to. You know,
Right.
my iPod could be from one end of the spectrum to the other, from song to song.
Okay. All right, Matt, your turn.
Yeah, I think the influences I would bring to the table as far as playing with the band would probably be 80s like kind of like more like alternative like pop like indie stuff. I mean, Adrian actually like really got me into like listening to like early REM stuff, like late 80s REM stuff. I think like the Smiths and everything. But yeah, I mean, as far as like style, I guess I think I'm a pretty busy player, but not necessarily like a flashy player.
Okay.
So like simple melodies, but like very very fast. Yeah.
All right, very cool. All right, let's go to song number 2, and that's "Sun Damage." Adrian, you want to? Did you write this song? Is this something you came up with?
I did. This song is actually very similar to Hope in that it was also kind of a challenge to myself to write in a certain style. And I mentioned earlier that I'm a big Elliott Smith fan.
Right.
Especially when I was in college, I was a huge Elliott Smith fan. Listened to all of his records, and this song in particular started out. My goal was to write an Elliott Smith B-side.
Okay.
Which they tend to be a little lighter, and so this song kind of came from that direction, and you can still sort of hear that. It's a lot more chimey than how it started out, which is just like everything I write is on an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
But the end of the song, really, you can hear Matt's guitar work takes over the song,
Okay.
and that had a big effect on kind of I think taking this song to the next level for us.
And what is the lyrics about? Is there a story behind there? Is it just something you had the song written and you're like, I need words to this?
I think most people tend to write music first and then lyrics second.
Okay.
I don't really do that. A lot of times I'll come up with a lyrical hook
Okay.
of some kind.
And then expand from
and
there.
then expand from that.
All right.
And the hook in this song is just the enough amount to much part.
Okay.
And sometimes they're very simple. They're not necessarily like sophisticated poetry. Lyrics aren't really poetry per se. It just has to sound good.
Right.
And it just has to work with the music.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, very cool. The song is called Sun Damage. It's from Trackjackets EP, debut EP. It's called Signal Noise, and we are yourlocalnote.com.
And broken arms and such cold comfort, seeing just how hard we fall. All my friends are like you, don't you know? You wind them up and then you let them go. You know you're so charming when you bat those eyes. Wind them up and then you make them cry. Always losing you. Who am I losing to? There's cold water on a burning heart. You can douse the flames, and there's always my friends like you, yes they do. It's so damn easy falling in love with you. I always wonder if we are enough, or if we're just not made to amount to much. I always wonder if we are enough. It's cold water on a burning heart. You can douse the flames, and there's always another spark. Cold shoulders and broken arms, and such cold comfort seeing just how hard we've fallen. We've fallen. I'm in love with your sun-damaged skin, all the things that are bound within it. I'm in love with the words you make, the way your mind moves you to create them. I'm in love with the shapes your lips make. I'm in love with the way the sounds escape. I always wonder if we are enough, or if we're just not made to amount to much. I always wonder if we are enough, or if we're just not made to amount to much. I always wonder if we are enough. It's cold water on a burning heart, douse the flames, and there's always another spark. Cold shoulders and broken arms, and such cold comfort seeing just how hard we've fallen. We've fallen. We've fallen. There is such cold comfort seeing just how hard we've fallen.
All right, that is Trackjackets and their song Sun Damage from their debut EP, Signal Noise. We're hanging with them tonight, and let's go more, Adrian, into the songwriting process. It seems like, well, at least with the first two songs, the majority of the songwriting came from you.
Yeah, for the most part, I think the way this band has generally worked with probably 90% of our songs is I'll bring an acoustic sketch to the table. At first, they were some of the demos that I had, originally posted to Craigslist, and
Right.
None of these songs that are on this EP are those. Those are ones we developed later.
Okay.
Which I think reflects, just us playing together, getting more of a focused sound away from that. But all of these songs, except for one, Arc, were written in the style that I brought an acoustic sketch to the table, and the band kind of picked it apart. Sometimes, like in the case of Hope, the structure stayed exactly the same as the demo. In other cases, the songs were kind of pulled apart a little bit. The last song in the EP, Sub, we moved around the bridge and the chorus, and different. All the structure was there in the original demo,
Right.
but it doesn't. It's
How
not in the same
difficult
order.
is that for you? I mean, the one thing I find interesting with this band, and a lot of bands we talk to, you get guys who've been together, or people who've been together since high school, and they've been playing for years, and they know each other, or they grew up in the same neighborhood. You guys basically came together without really knowing each other, and here you are now. I mean, music is very personal, especially writing a song. I find it interesting how do you, first we'll go, Adrian, how you deal with that. Then I want to talk to the other guys and see how they approach you, knowing that this is, your idea. So how does that work for you?
Sure. Well, I'm trying to think of times where I actually kind of went to bat against you guys for an arrangement. And the only one I actually can think of was Hope, because I really liked going to that bridge twice, and Levi, you hated it. It is kind of unorthodox to go, sort of from the verse to the bridge to the chorus back to the bridge. And I don't know why I did it. I just did it. But For the most part, I think we're all pretty flexible, and I'll let these guys speak for themselves. Maybe
Right.
they'll say, you're a jerk, and we can't stand working with you. But I think you have to be flexible, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to play in a band and not just be my own editor playing
Sure.
songs by myself all the
Sure,
time.
and I understand that, but still, you're talking about relationships and chemistry that you build within a band. And at first, I would think it would be difficult, and we'll go to Levi since you're the one who didn't like that and approached him on that. How difficult was it for you after hearing that, going, okay, how am I going to approach Adrian? I mean, he's been working on this, he likes this, and I don't, so how am I going to tell him I don't like this?
Well, he's not Paul McCartney.
Okay.
I mean, if he can't take criticism,
Right.
I mean, maybe you should be a singer-songwriter and do a solo act.
Well, I understand
that's
that,
why you
but-
got to look at it like that.
Okay. So you didn't care. You were like, okay, he's not Paul
I'm more than
McCartney.
happy to tell him I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I expect an argument back.
Okay.
And then I'm more than happy to argue back. Obviously, you reach a point where I'm not going to convince him. Maybe he won't
Right.
convince me. You're going to reach that point.
Okay.
And,
So you didn't have any difficulty approaching him and saying,
Oh,
this is-
no. And I
okay.
would expect the same from him.
Okay, very
So
cool.
that's kind of my viewpoint
All right.
of the type of relationship.
So, Sean, do you have the same sledgehammer approach that Levi has?
I think in certain ways yes, in certain ways no. I think the one thing about being in a band, I mean, you're right. There's bands that have been together for, since high school for how many years. I mean, we've been together for less than a year and a half. So, you do have that learning curve that you have to get to know each other, get comfortable with each other, and then, be able to move forward. I mean, there's definitely times where we have songs that we'll bang our head against the wall for a night trying to figure out, and then we just leave it alone, and the next week we come back, the tension's gone, and we're like, oh, maybe this doesn't really work. Adrian, clearly you were wrong. I was right. And, let's move
I have, for the
forward.
record, never said those words to Sean.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just something you have to be willing to work with the people around you. And, I hope people will agree with us that I think the product we've put out thus far is pretty good, a pretty good reflection of us kind of meeting in the middle and having, what we want to come out.
Matt, you pretty much agree with what you've heard so far?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the main reasons why we kind of write songs the way we do is when we first met and started making songs, we sort of had an urgency to just go out and play as soon as possible without, sounding like, like being as prepared as possible. But I think we all kind of have the attitude as too many chefs spoil the broth sort of thing. Have Adrian, he's writing the songs, we're going to deal with the cards we're dealt with and try to make that as best as possible. If for some reason there's a red flag, then we'll go and talk about like for some sort of structure things. But that's really like the exception, not the rule. Like we pretty much stick with most structure things with what your original solo stuff sounds like. But tonal wise, I mean, it's completely different. But yeah, I mean, it's really like just we just want to like the first summer when we got together, we just wanted to make as many songs as possible, and with that mindset, it really kind of let us like stay focused.
Have you ever brought a song that you guys either weren't all the way there yet, or you had played it at a show, and then it changed after that, just based on maybe a response from the crowd, or maybe something you experienced together on stage that an idea popped up in your mind with that song?
Red telephones.
Well, we've dropped songs, I think, certainly in response to. I mean, there's some things that were just a mess, and we just couldn't. I mean, it's like one thing Matt was saying about his guitar style is it can be very busy.
Yeah.
And and the whole band can be very busy. There's times where we tell Sean, "You're playing lead drummer, Sean, shut up," and it can be all over the place. And there have been experiments that we've done with songs that didn't work because we couldn't corral that.
Yeah.
And that Matt's saying, so we had a song called Red Telephones. We played a couple shows, the first shows we did, and it was a total disaster mess.
Yeah.
And we stopped playing it because of that. I mean, in response to the question about if we've changed songs successfully.
So is that something that you're putting back on the shelf for a little bit, or you're completely just it's gone and never coming back?
I mean, I think it's always there. It's going to be one of those things where if we're in kind of a writing mode or we're moving forward and we're kind of stuck somewhere, we may say, hey, let's revisit this, because it's the same thing. If you let something sit on the shelf for a while, you might come back with a different mindset that day or a different, maybe you listened to something different that you hadn't listened to before, and you heard something that were like, oh, this might work for that other song that we were working on. So, I mean, I don't want to say everything's off the table, but I mean, we always kind of have that backlog where it's kind of like, oh, well, if we're stuck, we can always filter through and try to make something new of something old.
Adrian, when you start writing songs, is it something that you sit down and you start writing, or is it when the inspiration hits you, it hits you, and you just put a pen to paper?
There's really no rhyme or reason to it for me. Like I said, about the two songs we've discussed already, like those were kind of more challenges to myself. I felt like writing something, and I kind of had an idea of what direction I wanted to take with it. Other times, as I said, I'll get like a turn of phrase in my head that I think just will make a good, either a couple lines, a couple in a song or a chorus or something like that, and I'll just go with that. But the mindset's changed a little bit with playing with these guys because I'm more willing to bring unfinished products and ideas to them. And, one of the songs that we're going to play for you guys, Arc, was a completely unfinished idea that Matt and I had bounced around, that the band completed, that the lyrics were kind of, I don't want to say they're an afterthought because I know what they came from, but they weren't written to be that song per se.
Okay.
So I think the mindset's different. I mean, we've worked on some newer songs here and there over the last couple months, and I'll come and be like, listen, I have this idea for like a verse and chorus. Like, what can we do with this? What kind of beat do we want to throw on this? Let's change it up a little bit. And it does change the character of the songs. I think it's good for us because it puts a more collaborative product out there.
Right. So we're going to play Arc actually right now. So just for someone about to listen to this song, lyrically, what is this song about?
This song is about Scott Bakula. This song was inspired by a night of watching a lot of Quantum Leap.
Right.
It's not going to make any sense when you really listen to the lyrics. But actually the lyrics. The lyrics are about I think getting into patterns in life, and that's when you have like your illusions of records spinning, and I have records mentioned in a few of our songs, what I like best about this song though isn't the lyrics. It's that we actually wrote this together. This was an idea that Matt brought to the table, and it was supposed to be a kind of a dancey song, and it didn't really end up dancey, but it's got a groove to it, I think, unlike some of our other songs that are a little more straightforward rock. And so, we worked on what Matt had. I threw in a chorus, and Levi here came up with the bridge for it.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't remember coming up with it, he did, in fact, come up with the bridge for this song.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't remember, Levi? What happened there? Late night?
All the good ideas come from me on this band. That's about sums it up, man.
Yeah, he doesn't say much, but when he does, it means a lot. All right, let's go to the song now. The song is called Arc, and it's off their debut EP called Signal Noise. We have Trackjackets on yourlocalnote.com.
You're singing along to the same old lines, humming out of tune just to keep the beat alive. Now the rhythm of the same sad song, the same sad excuses. Get along and the beat slows down, but the beat seem dry this star-crossed night, but your white skin in the arc of the light seems to me this is why we're alive. It's clear to me this is why we're alive. We're alive.
That is ARC. They are Trackjackets. This is yourlocalnote.com. During that song, they figured out the whole bridge story, what actually happened, but that's going to have to go on like the outtakes of Your Local Note podcast. Guys, you just had your debut show at the Fire. How did that go?
It's awesome. I mean,
in one word.
There's nothing like looking out and seeing people you don't know getting into your music.
Yeah.
You know, Matt's girlfriend Mal was actually saying how she never thought she'd have to go to a Trackjacket show and have somebody hold her spot in front of the stage, because when she came back, 3 other people had taken her place. So, I mean, it's something about like looking out and just seeing all these people that are just into what you're doing and not just, you know, texting the whole time.
Right. Matt, your girlfriend has a lot of confidence in the band then, if she's surprised to not get her stance back.
Yeah.
I guess you can't say much.
No.
But you guys were handing out download cards and trying to get your album out there, which is where? Where can I listen to your music right now?
We have a website. It's just trackjackets.net. It's not much of a website as it's like table of content for our things on the web. From there, you can get to our Bandcamp website. It's just trackjackets.bandcamp.com. And from there, you can stream our EP. You can actually download the original demos that we put together last summer for free. You can order a CD if you want to do that. And then also from our trackjackets.net page, you can get to our Facebook page and our Twitter feed and YouTube, all that, John.
All that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And hopefully we'll be doing more YouTube stuff, because that seems to be the most effective way to actually get out there.
Right, that's where people
like
discover their
YouTube.
music.
Yeah.
People
So-
like YouTube.
And that's why we put all our podcasts as vidcasts, I guess they would be called, on YouTube now, because of that reason. That's where people discover their music. What shows do you have coming up that people can go see?
Our next show is September 12th. It's at the balcony of the Trocadero. And we're going to be playing with Last Full Measure, who's another Philly band.
Okay, very cool. Speaking of playing out, let's go over for people who haven't seen you and they want to see you, what kind of show can they expect from you guys?
It really depends on where we play. We've played everywhere from basements on South Street to like the typical like Dobbs, North Star stuff, bigger
Philly bar scene kind of places.
So we kind of take that into account and consider that, and we will change our whole setup really accordingly.
So we do stripped down versions of some of our songs. A couple of them are on our YouTube channel if you want to check them out. There's Arc is one of the ones that we did a stripped down version of. It sounds pretty radically different. You really get to hear Levi pop on that bass guitar. And as Matt said, if we're playing a bar show on a Friday or Saturday night, we're going to turn up the volume and play a lot louder show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of improv on some shows, and maybe again depending on the location and the crowd. Do you guys sometimes just go off on with a song, or do you?
We really try to keep the structure as tight as possible, don't go off. Like our songs will always, I think, be around 3 minutes long.
Okay. We have a few songs that have kind of built-in opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
But we're not a jam band. We're not going to play 10-minute versions of anything.
Yeah.
Unless somebody wants to have us play a 3-hour set, then we'll play 10-minute versions of everything.
The only thing we'll be thinking about is like how to blend songs. We like the idea of like just to not keep stopping and talking.
Got it.
And just play as many songs as possible.
Got it.
And just keep the momentum going. So we find different ways to like blend songs with like different ambience.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Nobody likes it when a band stops the tune every song
and
it's like,
plug
hey, we're this band, And one thing Matt's always said is like, oh, you go see Dr. Dog. It's just they bang out song after song after song, and it's awesome. it's a great experience because your energy level doesn't keep stopping.
Right.
I think for the most part, the only improv you're going to hear is me and Adrian going back and forth with each other. Nobody wants to hear that anyway, so that's why we just try to keep the music going.
Very cool. All right, guys, thank you so much. It was great hanging with you, talking about your music and the band. And we're going to wrap it up. The final song on the podcast is called Sub. Adrian, give us a little background on this song. What it's about?
Well, Matt told me I needed to write more songs that were nautically themed.
Okay.
So, so I wrote this song. It was called "This Is How We Die in a Submarine."
Oh, gee.
And
So it was an uplifting song.
very uplifting.
Okay.
It's I think far and away the most depressing song on the EP.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily sound that depressing, I guess, but
when you really listen to the words and go through it,
yeah, it's a pretty big downer. In the end, the submarine
Melancholy.
everybody dies.
Okay.
So anyway, the
spoiler alert.
yeah, spoiler, and this is a song we tinkered a little bit with it in the studio, and I thought we got a cool result with it. We've been trying to work on it live to get it to have the same feel with some of the ambience, which is difficult to do with just two guitars because we were able to layer a lot of ambient guitars
Right.
on the recording.
Okay.
But
Very cool.
the goal was to make a bigger sounding song. We try to do that when we play it live, and to end it in the most depressing way possible.
So this is usually not the final song of the night, though.
No, well,
we're ending the podcast.
Yeah,
with it, though.
we end the podcast, so we end the EP with it. The last part of the song is a reference to a song by a band called the Sundays.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody remembers the Sundays. They had one hit in like 1990. But this year I've been listening to that band, in particular their first album, over and over and over and over again, and it's very depressing.
Okay.
And so this song is from the depressing heart of the Sundays.
It's inspired by
Inspired by that and Matt's nautical request.
All right, very cool. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Again, it was great hanging with you, so we appreciate it. Just want to remind you, next week we will have a brand new podcast, and of course we do nothing but play local music here, local Philadelphia area music, and we stream 24/7. You can download our apps at the respective stores. Just type in YLN. The app download is absolutely free, and you can take yourlocalnote.com with you. So we're wrapping things up with Trackjackets. The last song of the podcast is called Sub from their debut EP, Signal Noise. This is yourlocalnote.com.
Your head's getting cloudy, you knew it would. Water's getting deep and you can feel it in your blood. 1,000 leagues, you can feel the sun. We've all need each other to lead on. It's getting heavy on me, and these are heavy things. We're taking water in. Taking water in, satellites are falling down.